People are asking what is happening to our world with the pandemic, the disasters that visited our country in recent months. Is God to blame or are we to blame? Joining us today is Mr. Gerry Arances, the Executive Director of the Center for Energy, Ecology and Development. Gerry, can you tell us about your organization?
So CEED was established at the height of the Paris Agreement negotiations. It is mainly to capacitate and to help civil society organizations and people's organizations to meaningfully engage the policy discourse on climate and other related issues.
Is there any participation by the church as an institution or church people in your advocacies?
From the very onset, the church has always played a very critical role in shaping public discourse as well as conscientization amongst Filipinos. And with the existence of Laudato Si, there is enough impetus to actually really work closely with the church in pursuing ecological conversion in the country.
You recently released a scorecard. What is it all about?
The scorecard is basically gauging the exposure of Philippine commercial banks to financing coal. Because we've seen for quite some time in the country that there is massive expansion of coal. And they wouldn't be able to do this without enough funding. This effort is actually a part of a global movement which started way before Paris, wherein civil society organizations such as Filipino groups have engaged international arenas to be part of a lobby group to persuade big commercial banks, and that includes the Norwegian Pension Fund. And the church has always played a major role in this effort. Quite recently, this initiative have pushed the likes of RCBC to actually declare a coal moratorium in terms of their financing.
So is there hope, and how can we answer people's questions? The questions that have been bothering their minds with all these disasters, and blaming God, blaming everyone, but seemingly not themselves.
Hope is always there. As what Laudato Si has laid out, there is actually hope. But hope comes from knowing the root cause of the problems that we are facing. And that is why CEED, along with church organizations and civil society organizations, have endeavored to focus on commercial banks and transitioning the energy sector in the Philippines. Because the energy sector is almost the largest part of global and domestic emissions, which fuels climate change and climate disasters. So what we've witnessed in a short span of time, like perhaps in the last 5 years, we've gained tremendous ground in terms of, one, persuading national government agencies to actually come up with sound policies, just like what the DOE came up recently, the declaration of a moratorium on new coal-fired power plant permits. While there are numerous advances, one of the major lessons here in engaging government and international institutions and the private sector is that you really need to have a vigilant citizenry. And like 5 years ago or 8 years ago, it's a lonely planet for CSOs to be advocating around a coal moratorium or the stoppage of funding coal. We were against odds. So it took us quite some time, and with the convergence of CSOs and the church to actually come up with a major campaign. So the lesson here is that we really need to fight for our rights. People need to fight for our rights and demand accountability and responsibility to government agencies, to top officials, and the private sector. Today, there is already 90% reduction of renewable energy cost. All communities, even in far-flung areas, can put up their own solar or wind facilities on top of their roofs or within their communities.
Is God to blame?
There's been a lot of distractions on the root cause. And one of this is actually that question. We don't need to look somewhere else or ask different questions because there's already a consensus on the root cause. And that needs to be squarely addressed. And that includes the Philippine government addressing not just internationally, but its home front in terms of the coal expansion, the fossil fuel expansion, and the seeming neglect in terms, mariradtag ako dito. Okay lang yan. The seeming neglect in terms of capacitating its peoples and communities to confront climate change.
This is Up Close with Joe Torres. Thank you for watching.